Going live. All right, we should be live.
All right. Happy Friday. Welcome to our weekly recap where we're going to be discussing kind of the events that have been happening in the market throughout the week. How's it going, Richard?
Good, Julie. How are you?
Doing good. Happy it's Friday.
Yeah,
Looking
I,
forward to
I
the
am too.
weekend.
Me too. The week started crazy in the stock market. Monday was an absolute bloodbath,
Yeah.
and it has turned around quite a bit. The Dow actually just hit all-time highs today, which is crazy. I didn't think that was going to happen during the start of the week, but here we are.
Yeah, it's nice to see it turn around. I remember Monday doing my morning recap and the futures were as red as I've ever seen them. I was like, oh boy, kind of what are we in for this week? But it was nice to see it turn around. I mean, we had a lot of strong earnings reports coming out this week, and I think that's going to continue next week. But pretty exciting where I feel like week after week, we're seeing all the indexes like hit these new highs.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And you said, what did you say Thursday? How many companies are
Oh
reporting
my
earnings?
goodness. Yeah. So next week, we have quite the lineup. It is going to be really big companies. Let me get my list here. Sorry. We have Tesla on Monday, Apple and Microsoft, Facebook, PayPal, Amazon, MasterCard. And Thursday, there's over 550 companies reporting.
Wow.
So, I mean, to give you an idea, today there was like 84. So
Wow.
that's a huge amount of companies to be reporting one day. And we have a lot of these big names. So hopefully we see another repeat of this week where a lot of these companies are coming out with some pretty solid second quarter results. And therefore we're seeing the market respond appropriately, right?
Yeah, it's impressive. Both Twitter and Snap did really well.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Snap was up, what, 20, it's still up 25% or something like that today.
Yeah.
Let me take a peek. Yeah, just over 23%. So big upside for Snap over the last couple days.
Yeah.
And there's still more upside based on the analyst ratings, still coming in with a moderate buy, even after, jumping 35-40%. So huge days.
Yeah, and analysts still putting in new price targets with lots of upside there, which sometimes you see them come in with the price target and then that good news kind of takes it a lot closer to it. But no, there's still a lot of room for them to grow based on those analyst outlooks. So exciting to see.
Yeah. And what was it? Boston Beer did terribly, even though
Oh,
they,
did
they
they?
didn't really miss by that much, but they were down almost 30% yesterday, and they're down an
Oh, wow.
additional 24% today.
That is
Um,
surprising. I feel like we're reopening, but we're
yeah,
still partaking and drinking, and you think
right?
people are out and able to do more.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, they missed revenue by about 30 million. So I think,
Okay,
it bars having an impact on that, obviously.
sure.
But if we look at, if you guys were to pull up ticker symbol SAM on TipRanks.com, you can see that there's a moderate buy based on 7 analyst ratings with an average upside of over 50% after these big drops. So it could be
Yeah.
a potential opportunity to purchase a stock that could be really tied to recovery. So here,
I think it's
Jason.
always so funny with earnings reports too. Sorry to cut you off there, but just
No, you're good.
it can be the slightest miss or they can even meet expectations, but it can be the smallest thing in future guidance too that the market just picks up on and reacts very differently. So I think it's
Yeah,
always funny. I learned a long time ago not to play earnings reports because
yeah,
I feel like it always will go in the opposite direction, even if most of the news is good. And it's just one piece of future guidance can be not quite as optimistic as the market wants, and then that's it, right? So it's
yep. Yeah, it's generally smart not to not to play earnings
yeah.
because it can definitely backfire on you for sure.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's talk about space. Space has been in the in the news quite a bit lately with both Virgin
Hmm.
Galactic and Blue Origin with Jeff Bezos going into space. And yeah, space stock itself is way down from those highs. They were up at, what, $60 or so just a couple weeks ago, and now they're back
Yeah.
under 30 today, which is crazy.
Yeah. I've been dying to talk to you about this one because this happened last week and unfortunately we didn't get to do our live stream last week, but I'm
Yeah.
dying to hear your thoughts on this stock offering. I thought it was just really disappointing that right after, his big flight, finally going to space, they kind of swept the legs out from everyone by doing this stock offering and just killing any momentum that the stock had.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It has been a year and a half of stock offerings, to say the least, right? When March hit, everything tanked. I think the biggest difference between now and the dot-com bubble is that companies are using this time with these crazy prices to raise money. I think that's smart for most companies. There's been a few companies that took it a little too far, like Nano Dimension. I've talked about them over and over again. They did like 9 offerings. It was a little much, and they raised $2 billion, and they haven't done much with it, right? So for Virgin Galactic to do this at the time they did it, it was probably smart. But like you said, they kind of swept the legs out from everybody, the stock price has shown that that change in supply and demand for sure.
Yeah, because like you said, if they get this money, then you need to do something with it that then gives your shareholders back that value. And I think now with Virgin Galactic too, you have, what was it, 600 tickets sold at the $250,000 price point. And now they're saying they will eventually release more. That'll be at a higher price point. But the market of people that actually have that kind of disposable income and are wanting or willing to go to space is pretty limited. So I think now we really need to see what are the next steps that is going to make this a stock that is going to increase in value anywhere here in this next year, right? What are they going to do now to give that value back? And I don't know. I'm not seeing that picture currently. I would love to hear people's thoughts on what is going to kind of put some wind back in the sail here. But yeah, I was shocked. I was a little disappointed with the timing of that. I thought it was kind of, I don't know, didn't like it.
Yeah, I agree. Jason says space is a rich person's game, something for the rich to spend money on, and that you're totally right. And I didn't hear or know that they were raising prices. I feel like it was already a crazy amount. And what did the ticket for to go with Jeff Bezos was over $20 million, right? So almost $30 million. So that was kind of a one-time thing. That's a little bit different. They're a ways out from commercializing. I think Virgin Galactic is much closer. But still, the price of a house to go into space and feel weightlessness for a couple minutes is a little bit crazy.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see. But right now it's, like you said, this billionaires space race, which is great. Hey, good for them. Cool. But then, for the rest of us shareholders that aren't going to space anytime soon, when does that value come down to us?
Yeah.
Time will tell, I suppose.
Time will tell, yeah. Did you hear, so I was talking to you about this a little bit earlier, the FAA just changed their criteria for becoming commercial astronauts, so actually becoming an astronaut. And it isn't just as easy as going up into space anymore. They actually changed the designation. So I'm going to read it here. It says you have to demonstrate activities during the flight that were essential to public safety or contributed to human space flight safety. So there's a chance that Jeff Bezos and all those guys on that flight, and then Virgin Galactic, Richard Branson, they're not going to be astronauts, which I'm sure they're sad about.
You're a spaceship passenger, right? You're not flying the ship, right? So I don't know. I think that's fair. I think everyone wants to say, "Oh, I'm an astronaut," but it's like you were just strapped in for dear life.
Yeah.
I don't know. And not to say that it's just easy to go up to space. I'm sure there was a lot of preparation involved, but
for sure,
not the same preparation to actually be an astronaut. So
absolutely,
I think that's okay. I think that's fair.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah. I think it's funny that they just did it based on, right.
They probably didn't realize they had to. And then they're like, wait, these people are going around calling themselves astronauts now.
Yeah. They're like, no, you're good. No, that's totally funny. Kev says a $5 cup of coffee was crazy, and now there is Starbucks. Good point, True. Kev. Yeah, maybe spaceflight will be way more popular than we think it is, but I think it's a long ways out. That's my opinion.
Yeah, we got a little bit of time to wait, and the whole space industry is just beginning to really boom and expand and everything. So, no doubt, over the next few years, we're going to see way more just space-related companies like this doing a lot of cool things. So. Definitely just the beginning, but we're definitely at the beginning. So I think there's still some time to go before we really see it in its full booming capacity.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know what we're closer to? You made a video on this autonomous driving with Ford, Argo AI, and Lyft collaborating.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
this?
I mean, first of a kind collaboration, they're saying. All these companies are lining up. By the end of the year, they're saying in Austin, they're going to have these self driving ride hailing cars. So if you're in the service industry, you go on your Lyft app, you can select a self driving car. To start, they do have safety drivers. So it's not fully autonomous, driverless yet.
Right.
But I mean, by the end of the year, that's coming up really quick, I think. And they plan to have 1,000 vehicles over the next few years. I think it was Austin, Miami, a
Mm-hmm.
few big centers like that where they're really piloting it. Um, I think, yeah, it's crazy to think that we're that close to that being on the road. I think that's pretty exciting. And I don't think they're going to be the first and only company. Well, they'll be the first, not the only company to do this. So we'll see what other big names come into this space too.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you learn anything about the tech involved? Because Waymo, for instance, right, this Google subsidiary, it took them years to map out one city in Arizona for it to be safe and completely autonomous. So I know Argo AI is one of the big players in this game, if not the leader
Yeah.
in this space. But do you know if they're using radar or lidar or
I didn't
cameras or
get
what?
too much into that AI, and I was actually going to start researching them more because they're anticipated to go public themselves this year as well. And I think that'll be a huge one when it does happen because, like you said, they are one of the top companies in that niche. So I don't know the exact answer to that yet. I haven't gotten too into the weeds there, but yeah, it seems that they're kicking butt of what they're doing.
Yeah, that's good. And I think the biggest hurdle right now, right, is just regulation
Sure.
and safety. Even though it is probably orders of magnitude safer to be in a self-driving vehicle than it is to be just a normal driver. So I love it. I think it's a great idea. I think eventually all vehicles will be autonomous, and
Yeah.
people that love driving will be pretty sad. But I think it'll be a much safer place for anybody on the roads. You know.
I know it's just going to be wild the first time that you call like a Lyft or an Uber and that car pulls up and there's no driver in it, right? That's, I don't know. It's
It's so
obviously the
weird.
way of the future, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to feel pretty bizarre. And I mean, this is just one part. I mean, Ford is obviously one of the big manufacturers that are making the push towards electrification too.
Hmm.
You know, with their Ford F-150, their Mustang. But you know, they're making a lot of changes and this is obviously one big part of that. So I don't know, things are going to be very different 5 years from now in the auto industry.
Yeah, and I think both Ford and GM potentially. GM just announced that they're because of the semiconductor shortage, they're stopping production on pickup trucks, which sucks because that's their biggest, margin
Yeah.
vehicle. But in terms of how cheap these stocks are, because of the run of Neo and Tesla and XPeng and Li Auto and all these other EV specific manufacturers, Ford and GM and some of the other legacy automakers are really beat down right now. So it could be
Yeah.
a good potential opportunity. Shane says here, love Ford for an EV play over the next few years. And Shane, I totally agree. I think with the Ford F-150 Lightning, I think that's going to be a big player for Ford in the future, for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had some people, even on that last Ford video, saying, it's kind of too late for these big automakers that they didn't switch to EV soon enough. Tesla's already got the lead there and everything. But honestly, I think there's room for multiple big companies in the EV space, just the same way we have multiple car manufacturers for gas cars right now.
Yeah.
There's tons of room. And these big companies like GM and Ford, they have the manufacturing, they have the infrastructure, they have the dealerships, like they have all of that already sorted out. And yes, Tesla and we have some big names, but a lot of these smaller startups, those are their big hurdles. So Ford and GM might be pivoting a bit too late in some people's opinions, but they have a lot of money and experience behind them. And with this pivot, I don't know, I think they're definitely going to bring strong competition to the EV space. It's trusted brands. Ford F-150 is a truck everybody knows and loves. So I don't think they're too late. I think they're going to be big players in that space.
No, and honestly, I think it was smart. I think it was smart for them to wait. I think a lot of people think that Apple's going to get into the car game as well, and I'd be interested to see what that looks like. And Apple's usually late to the game for the most part in terms of different features and things like that. But that is sometimes a really smart move because they can learn from everybody else's mistakes. So
Yeah.
I think Ford is doing that, and I think that's a smart
Watch
move.
other people work out the bugs first.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Not always a bad idea.
Yep. And then last on our list is Bitcoin and the B Word conference that we had the other day with Jack Dorsey, Kathy Wood, and Elon Musk. And I watched a little bit of it. It was definitely entertaining to see Elon, talk about Bitcoin, and because he's been probably the most popular celebrity to be able to move a price of a coin, which has
Yep.
been pretty controversial over the last couple months. So, what did you take from that conference?
Yeah, and we've talked about exactly that before on these market recaps, is his power to move crypto with his tweets and everything, right? And the different opinions on how safe and smart that is. I think he's just checking on his dog. I'll keep talking about Bitcoin. But we've now seen Bitcoin. We were down 29,000 price point earlier. And then we're now back up above 30,000, up over 32,000 now. And my favorite part was Elon saying, I might pump, but I don't dump. And
Yeah.
he confirmed with everybody he still holds it. Bitcoin is one of his biggest crypto holdings. SpaceX holds it, and they have no intentions of selling. They want to hold it long term. And as far as, using it within their business and everything, they're just waiting for more of those environmental regulations to be mainstream. So I
Yeah.
think it gave everyone a lot more confidence, and we could kind of take a breath and say, okay, we're just waiting for more of those environmental regulations to come in, but we're not panic selling, right? We're holding. We still believe in the long term. And I mean, Kathy Wood mirrored that, saying these big companies need to be holding it to kind of hedge against inflation and everything too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was one of the things that Elon said about energy specifically. He was talking about one of the biggest issues with energy is they can't make cells fast enough, right? So he was talking about anytime he talks to a company about battery cells, they're like, "How many do you want?" Well, he's like, "How many can you make?" Right? So there
All of
isn't
them.
enough. There isn't enough companies making batteries in the space or solar cells and all that kind of stuff. In his opinion, and that I think
Sure.
is a good opinion if we want to get to this place of renewable energy sooner rather than later.
Hmm.
Especially for Bitcoin, the goal is to get closer to that 50% mark before, like you said, Tesla's going to start using it as an actual currency, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I saw another, oh, now I can't recall the exact name. I want to say it was maybe a Bloomberg analyst, but don't hold me to that. Just saying now that we're kind of up above that $30,000 price point, holding
Hmm.
steady. There's a better chance of it now going upwards towards 60,000 than it would ever be getting down to 20,000. So I think people are feeling that renewed sense of safety. We've kind of found that bottom mark there that we don't think it's going to go below. So we'll see, right? I think for anyone holding long term, it's just that patient waiting game. If you're trading Bitcoin on the short term, like good luck. That would stress me out so much,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
teach their own.
No, I totally agree. And I used to trade crypto quite a bit back in the last craze and then before it got above 20 this last time again. But I think we've tested these support levels a couple times now under 30. And I agree. I think that's a really good sign for Bitcoin to keep inching forward.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool. Let's move over to questions. I see a couple questions in here. We have a question from Shane asking about. It says, "What do you all think about the banks? 10-year bonds. I'm assuming can't stay this low for very much longer, can it?" Yeah, there's going to be a time at which that turns around with where the Fed has to raise rates, and I think the markets are going to freak out. I don't know if we'll see a crash in the magnitude of what we saw in 2008, but this, based on my opinion, this can't go on forever, right? The real estate market, the stock market, everything's just kind of going up, right? We're seeing all-time highs for a lot of things,
Yeah,
and there will be a correction at some point. It's just a matter of time, and I just don't know how bad it'll be.
sure. And I would like to hope that they wouldn't go and swing so hard to the other side, right? Hopefully these will be little incremental raises, just kind of gently correcting things so we don't see a massive overcorrection in that sense. Fingers crossed, best case, that it is in line and doesn't just blow things up. But you're
Mhm.
right, things have been at an all-time low for a while, so it's bound to happen. And even though we know that, there is always still that reaction when it does happen,
Yeah.
unfortunately, right? That's the emotions of it. We can be prepared, we know it's coming, we understand why, but when it does, people are still like, oh. So
Yeah.
we'll see. It's kind of inevitable, right?
Yeah. And I think, a lot of people investing now didn't really go through. Maybe they saw their parents go through the 2008 crisis or their grandparents and lose a lot of money in the short term. But if you pay attention to history and you held on through that time, you're much better off now.
Yeah.
And I know people who were in their 60s that lost 60% of their portfolio and pulled out at that point, right? And then only for it to recover a few years later. So that was tough to see people lose money. So I would hope that people would learn from those experiences, but traditionally people don't, unfortunately, learn from those experiences. So I'm
It's
hoping people do
tough,
though.
right? Like emotions are involved there, right? And I think when people say, like, you can't invest for the short term, you have to have the long term, people don't always understand that that can mean years. So if
Yeah.
you're going into the stock market, this shouldn't be money that you need next year, whether it's for retirement or say you're buying or building a house or something, then that money should be kept somewhere where it cannot fluctuate by 60%, right? So if you're going to put your money out into the stock market where there is the chance it's going to dip, you need to have that time to let it recover.
Yeah.
So, as a longer term investor, I know if my stocks drop drastically, I need to just ignore them and let
Hmm.
them ride it out for the next little bit, because you don't lose money until you sell those shares. So but no one likes seeing their money down like that. So like I said, it's easy to talk about in
Yeah.
theory, but of course, when people actually see their statements, see their accounts, and they see that red, different emotions take over.
Yeah, especially when you're close to retirement, like if you have
Yeah.
another 30 years of saving left, right, before you're going to retire realistically, it's a little
Yeah.
it's a little different, but usually it doesn't take more than a couple years. Jason says correction will be here. No worries, we made it through COVID, or we would not be here. Yeah, I totally agree. We'll get a correction, but it'll be all right.
Buying opportunities, right? Have some cash
Yes,
on the side. Get ready for it.
absolutely. Does anyone have any other questions we want to talk about? I'm going to run through comments and see if we have anything else here. No, I think that's it. Yeah, I
Nice,
think
easy
that is
Friday.
all.
Everyone's just
Yeah,
ready for the weekend.
I think
We're
they are.
midsummer now. I feel like everyone's enjoying, like, we've reopened a bit, everyone's vaccinated out there living their best lives. So
Yep.
we're kind of in that quiet period of summer now. I'm liking it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. My wife's actually traveling to California this weekend, so it's
Nice.
nice that people are getting back out there and enjoying themselves
Yeah.
and not drinking beer, I guess, because Sam Adams is still doing terribly. But
Right?
yeah,
Get out there, guys. Have a Sam Adams. Help their next quarter turn things around.
yep. Have some Sam Adams this weekend. All
Yeah.
right, cool.
Well, I guess that's it then. I mean, we'll wrap it up. Look forward to next week. Like I said, a lot of big earnings on the table. So it'll be
Yeah,
exciting to see, hopefully, some awesome second quarter results. We'll see these indexes hit some new highs next week and just onwards and upwards, right?
absolutely. Yep, I'm looking forward to Tesla on Monday. I hold some Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
and then some of the other big names this week is it's going to be big.
Yep. And we'll be there filling everybody in and all those results.
All right, awesome. Have a great weekend, Julie. Have a great weekend, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. And we'll see you on Monday. Bye.